This week's spiritual workout is actually something that's very practical. I have encouraged people for years in this, and I've actually been able to work together a design that might be able to help you out. It's really dealing with how you control the stresses in your life, the cares, the concerns, the worry, the anxiety. I know some people, they'll read in the Bible where it says, be anxious for nothing. And they'll sit there and go, man, but I get worried all the time, or I get anxious, and um, that's in your life a lot. Struggle emotionally, that's okay. It's okay, but how do you prevent getting worried? How do you prevent getting anxious? How do you take those cares and concerns? Because you know, the Bible is very clear about, as Christians, we care about a lot of things. And how do you care deeply and love unconditionally and not allow worry and anxiety to come in? So I wanted to share with you something that'll help you in that area. It's sort of a diagram of how you can think through something, because you may learn from the places you become anxious and worried. You can learn a lot about what you need to grow in personally in your faith. So I like to call this caring without worry. How do you care and love others without worrying? So the first thing you'll learn, which many of you already know, is that there's only one person you could change. It's yourself. And there's really only one person God has given you the ability to have control in, and that's yourself. It's called self-control. And so we start with who you are, yourself. And in this area, you can control a lot of things. In a sense, you can control how you eat. You can control how you sleep sometimes. You can control a lot of things. Your time, your schedule. You can put together your schedule. You can make plans, that kind of thing. Even though sometimes your plans might not work, but there are a lot of things within your life you can control. And some of those things need to be worked on. So you need the discipline to work on healthy habits. But that's also spiritual habits. I mean, you can work on kindness, you can work on forgiveness, you can work on all the spiritual values that we have, those things that help us have great meaning in life. You can work on those every day. But how do you keep from the worry part of it? So the first circle represents you, the things that you can control, the things that you do have charge over, that God said these are for you to deal with. The heart, the soul, your mind, what you think on, and your strength, what you do with your life. That's an area of self-control. But then there are areas that you have influence. You don't control people. I don't control my wife or my kids, but I have influence. That's that next circle. As their father, I could have influence in my children's life. As a pastor, I have influence in people's lives. As a husband, I have influence in my wife's life. Even now, if you listen to this and you like it and you learn from it and grow, there's an influence I've put into your life, and that's good. Influence is good if it's good influence. Otherwise, it's bad company, bad influences. There's a lot of bad influences. So influence is something that you can't necessarily control it, but there are things that you can do to show how much you care for someone. I can't control how someone receives my love, but I can love them. And then, of course, the last circle are all your concerns in your life. The things way out there, the things that concern you that you have no control over. The virus, the pandemic, the struggles in the world, the difficulties of people's lives. And your heart goes out. I mean, sometimes your heart just breaks and you just love others so much, or you get so worried about a group of people or something that's going on in your neighborhood or in politics or in this country. That's where you have a lot of concerns. And any one of these, you can take them and you can worry about them. You can be anxious about them. You can develop worry and anxiousness in that. Well, let me show you kind of how this works. When I'm working on myself, there are disciplines I need to put in place. And when I am working on things that I should be able to do or become, sometimes I get worried or anxious because you know what? I blow it. I sin. I mess up. I'm working on something that doesn't work right. I get anxious about something coming up that I can't control. Well, that's when you know you have to put these little lines and circles in place. Every one of these lines represents a set of disciplines. So let me give you an example. My heart goes out, and I am very concerned about those who are struggling through the current situation we're in. And that's global. That's not even just local. And my prayers go out that way. Well, prayer is a discipline. One of the things God tells you about concerns is, yeah, you have no control over those, but you know what? We know who does control those things. God. Well, then why are we not giving them to God? You see, when I become worried or anxious about them, oftentimes it's because I want it to change now. I want it to change on my lifestyle. I want it to stop now. I want it to be done the way I want it now. And it's like, no, those are the things that are in God's hands. And I need through prayer, and even if you're that concerned or worried, then you need to fast. Those are things you can do. People will come to me and they'll say, I'm worried and anxious about these things. I'm like, well, have you prayed about them? Well, yeah. Have you fasted? No. Well, then how worried are you? You see, if you're really, really caring about something, there's a place where all of a sudden you might start to worry, be anxious. When you feel that inside you, the worry or the anxiety, it's an indicator, it's a sign. It's like an indicator of, okay, this is perfect. You need to pray. Time to pray. Time to fast and pray. Time to fast and pray and do something. Do something with that. You can write a letter. You can send a card. You can send money. You can donate your time. There's a lot of things. But some things are so far out of your area of influence, you have no influence over them. So the most that you could do is pray, fast, and continue to encourage others in that as well. What's really cool about our world today is if you really care about something that's going on in the world, with a couple clicks of the button, you could typically find a way to access a Christian who's there and how you might be able to help them to influence that area where they are and how to pray for them and how to financially even help them. But you have to have that boundary in place. But what about those you do influence? People you know, relatives, family, friends, neighbors, and they're going through difficult times. Their families are struggling. Alcoholism, addictions, all sorts of scenarios out there where your heart just begins to worry for them, troubled for them. Even within your own family, I can't control my kids, but I have influence in their life. But what if your kid's wayward or your kids are doing things they shouldn't? There's a lot of stress. And that stress, you begin to be anxious and worried, and all of a sudden you realize, you know what? No. I have a choice. I could sit here and allow myself to just worry over something, or I can choose to do something in love. I can make a phone call. I can text them. I could go visit them. Not now, but in the future. I can Zoom them. I can video conference them. I can do something for them. I can get them a gift. I can show them how much I love them. I can exercise a discipline of my faith. Because I have found prayer and fasting is really great, but it's even the most ideal package for that discipline to work is if you accompany it by doing something. Prayer is doing something, fasting is doing something, but then send a letter. Do something with your hands, your feet about it. Take a walk and pray. Maybe that's it. Go out into the fields and pray. But usually these lines represent the disciplines that you need in your faith. The disciplines that apply when you begin to get anxious and worry. And so what you have to do is you have to get into the mindset of when I become anxious or worried, I need to stop and I need to think about it. What is it I need to do right now? Do I need to go to the Lord in prayer and fasting, or is there something else? A lot of times when it comes to the center here where you do have more control in your heart and your life, a lot of times we've stumbled or we've sinned or we've fallen into the trap of sitting and worrying and trying to control things we can't control. And really that's the main thing that causes worry is when we try to control something we can't control. Well, then you need to ask forgiveness. and realize that God is there every day, forgiving, open arms, forgiveness. He's there for you. So what do you need to do? You need to seek God's love and forgiveness and let Him restore you. You know, restoration is a process, but in that process are the disciplines that will get you there. One of the disciplines you start with is forgiveness. Do you have that discipline in your life? Are you disciplined in your prayer life? Are you disciplined in your habits? Are you disciplined in your devotion? You see, these disciplines, believe it or not, are meant to be in your life to keep you from the worries and the troubles. Peace comes through these disciplines. So when you're doing your spiritual workout this week, realize the goal is that you're putting some boundaries and some margins and some disciplines in your life that will allow you to have peace, contentment, and security with God and with others. It'll allow you to influence others in love and allow you to have those concerns and ever broaden your heart. Be concerned. Be caring. Be loving. Have a heart that's huge. But don't worry. Don't worry. Don't be anxious for anything because He's with you. God bless you and work that spiritual muscle this week. Take care.